Hello everybody, I'm Gordon, and coming up on May the 3rd will be 8 years since my liver transplant. I remember it very vividly. Me and my wife was sitting in the doctor's office at Vanderbilt when he looked at me and said, "You're a very sick man, Gordon." And he said, you have 4 months to live." And I remember when he said that, it felt like all the blood just left my face. I was in total shock. I didn't know what to say. And I don't think I really said much after that, except for he told me that because of my weight, I wouldn't be eligible for a liver transplant, but they would do the testing to see if I could be a recipient anyway. So that was around April the 2nd, I believe, is when that happened. And I'd already, at one time while I was sick, because I was sick a year before that, and it got to the point where I was missing so much work, and I'd got to the point I was so bad. I mean, I went probably a month, maybe almost 2 months not working. I just couldn't. It really got bad in November, and I didn't work again. And so they gave me the option to retire, and so I retired. And because they told me I needed to take care of my health, and to be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to live very long. And then so in April, they told me I had 4 months to live. That was April the 2nd. And I'd had irritable bowel syndrome. I don't know if anybody's ever had that or not, but it's a terrible thing to go through. You stay in the bathroom most of the time. I'd gotten to the point where I had hemorrhoids so bad I couldn't sit down. I would sit at the house and just cry from the pain. Nobody could do anything to help me. All I had was Tylenol and aspirin, and I really wasn't much for taking any kind of pain medicine. So I didn't take much. I just suffered through the pain, and it got to the point I just didn't know what I was going to do. Well, when I left Vanderbilt that day, I remember we went out and got in a car. My wife was driving, and I called my nephew, and when I did, I broke down, started crying. I felt hopeless, helpless. I mean, all my dreams was gone. Any plans I had for my future were gone. One day, me and my wife both being retired and be able to enjoy life a little bit was gone. And so I hung up, and I called my mother and told her. And as soon as she heard the words that I'm going to die, she said, "No, son, you're going to live." And that really done something for me. Anyway, I hung the phone up after I was talking with her. And I just started praying. I told the Lord, I had so much fear. It was so devastated from the news that I had just got. And so I just prayed. I said, "God, if I'm going to die, that's okay. But all I ask you is to remove the fear." As soon as the word fear left my mouth, all the fear was gone. There was no fear. That I was not constantly thinking about, hey, you're going to die. It could be next week. It could be 4 months from now. You might even last a year. None of that was in me. And so they scheduled me to come back. And from my surgery was May the 3rd in 2018. Well, 2017 is when I got sick. And about around Christmas, I had got so bad I dropped from 430 pounds down to 350 pounds. And they told me I needed to lose the weight. Now, this was on April 2nd. By the time April the 20th come around, just before my birthday, in those 2.5 weeks, I lost 50 more pounds. And so all this was happening to me was my own fault, was my fault. I ate too much. I didn't take care of myself. I ate too much sugar. And I want you to know right now that sugar is a poison. It's a poison for your body. Now, I got saved when I was in 1980, when I was 18 years old. But, and I served the Lord for many years. And in the last, I think around 2005, I'd been hurt by the church that I was attending, and I'll not mention any names, but it kind of drove me away from the church, and then I got bitter, and it's not their fault, it's my fault for allowing them to offend me to the point that I would quit church. And so I was carrying all that bitterness. I started going out drinking and thinking I was having a great time, but all I was doing was just ruining my life. During the time I was backslid, I did things that I am so ashamed of. So much stuff that I can't go back and just say, hey, I didn't do that. But I was a sinner. And so when I was getting sick and stuff, I began to seek the Lord. But when I found out I was going to die, I knew your playtime's over. It's time to come back. It's time to concentrate on the Lord and to get your life right. And so it was a big hit. And I went, and I had got down to 300 pounds. So I had lost 130 pounds. And when I went for the testing, I had gained 5 pounds in fluid. I was having a problem with fluid all over my body. And my leg actually weighed 10 more pounds than what my left leg weighed, because I had fell from a ladder and caused some damage on that leg, and I have a lot of edema in that leg anyway. But the doctor that interviewed me after I went through the process, I went in and I spoke with the doctors. One of them, he said, I see something in you. And he said, even though you're over the weight for a liver transplant, he said, I'm going to go ahead and agree to do the transplant. And because I was really struggling with trying to lose the rest of that weight. All I can say is I'm allergic to food. So I'm under 300 pounds now, and I've stayed that weight pretty much for the last 7 years. It's up and down. I'll go from 270 to 280 to 295 and then back down. I'm up and down, but now I'm really wanting to concentrate on losing the rest of the weight because I have a hernia, and I need to get that fixed, and I can't until I lose the rest of the weight. But anyway, what I wanted to tell you is one other thing that happened to me just shortly before me going to Vanderbilt. While I was sick, they did a colonoscopy on me, or actually they did a CT scan on me. And during the CT scan, they come up that I had a mass in my colon, and the doctor told me that it was the largest mass that he had ever seen, and that I needed to come in for a colonoscopy. Well, I asked him, I said, Doc, what's the percentage on it being cancer? He looked at me and said, 1,000%. I've done so many of these. I know what I'm looking at, and it's gonna be a hard road. And so I went in for the colonoscopy, and he couldn't even get to where the mass was at. And so when I woke up, he said, you're gonna have to come back in for a different type of colonoscopy. I don't know what the deal was, but I think it was called a balloon, where they expand everything so they can get into where the mass is at, and they can get a biopsy of it. Well, during that time, I began to pray and ask God, Lord, I need a miracle in my life. I need you to heal this. I need this, because I've got all this other stuff going wrong. And I went back in. It was like 8 days later. I was fighting with all that fear. Now, this was before God removed the fear, you know, just for my liver transplant. And I went back in, and he said, you don't even have a polyp. There's nothing in there. So I just want to give God praise that he said I had cancer, and then I didn't. So I give God praise for that. But then get the devastating news that you got 4 months to live. Well, that was 8 years ago. I prayed that I wanted God's will in my life. And when they put me on the list, 8 days later, I got my liver. And when I showed up, the nurses and stuff said it was a miracle. They said nobody ever got a liver that quick. Most times you get sick, and you're real bad sick like that, and you usually end up dying waiting on a liver, because by the time you do find a liver, your body is not in the shape that could actually survive the surgery. But I went through the surgery. My wife was there. My mother was there. My wife supported me so much. She helped me through all this stuff. And we've been married 42 years. And I thank God for her. And I just wanted to say that if somebody listening to this video, if you're facing something similar, please leave a comment. If you need prayer for a loved one, just leave a comment, and I will be sure to pray for that person. It's, you know, it's such a blessing to have those extra years. And to be honest with you, I don't feel like I ever deserved it. And I don't deserve God's love, but he loves me anyway, and he loves you, and he will help you to overcome anything that you're facing. I wanted to make this video just to let people know who I am, what I went through, what I've suffered, and how God's brought me through it all. I appreciate it, and I thank you very much. And if you would be so kind to subscribe and leave a thumbs up and leave a comment, I would sure love it. Thank you so much.